You know, I've been a fan of actively engaging in self-development for probably around 5 years now. I always kind of felt like I wanted to be in control of the changes and to make the decisions about who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do with my time. So much so that 2 years ago I actually took a job as a professional motivational speaker. And for the past 2 years, my job has literally been to just go out there and educate people on how they can do this. Things like how they can get the most out of themselves, how they can be the best version of themselves. And it's really just all about giving life everything that you've got. Now, I actually recently did the maths on this, and it turns out that over the past 2 years, I've spoken to over 10,000 people. 10,000 people. Now, honestly, that in itself is mad to me. But I think throughout the past 2 years, and actually going a lot further back than that to before then, I've actually not been great at taking my own advice. I often went through large periods of kind of doing things like staying inside my comfort zone, not doing things because of the fear of not being able to do it, of actually kind of failing, the fear of not being good enough. I've even been kind of guilty of that old self-development faux pas of always comparing myself to other people. In fact, you know, I nearly didn't go for that speaking job in the first place for fear of being compared to somebody else, which, when I look back at it, it's absolutely mad and honestly kind of ridiculous. The idea that I would have held myself back from doing something which honestly has already completely changed my life, just because I was scared of maybe what other people would think of me, or actually not even that, being scared of what I thought other people would think of me. It sounds ridiculous, but I used to think that I wasn't a hat person. I used to never wear hats. I don't wear them that much anymore, but I got this one in Disneyland. It says, "I am Groot." I think it's pretty cool. Get a lot of compliments on it now, so I just take my own advice. I just wear it. I don't care. But I guess a part of this kind of crazy paradox is that it is a lot easier to realize this and to recognize this from the other side of these problems. You know, back then I didn't know that making this decision would start a career, or at very least start a little bit of a path through life for me, just by doing the thing that felt right to me rather than doing the thing that maybe felt safe. Back then I didn't realize that people would actually kind of value me for my contributions rather than comparing me to other people's work. Back then I didn't even realize that my friends and even my partner would love me for who I am and my little quirks, rather than for my ability to try and fit in or follow others, which, by the way, I don't do at all. So I think I'm gonna start trying to take my own advice a little bit more. It's always tough to take your own advice because I guess you're not as objective. I guess your emotions, your feelings, your fears, maybe just get in the way of making the right decision and doing the right thing for you. I think it comes down to the problem that we actually know too much about ourselves. We're stuck in our own heads with our own set of limiting beliefs about who we are, what we can achieve, what we're capable of, and things like that. Now, what I'm not saying is that I've got all the answers myself. I absolutely don't. And actually what this is not about as well is controlling the world around us. That's impossible. At the end of the day, the only thing that you can control is the things that you do within that world. But I do actually think that we have a lot of answers ourselves. They're kind of in here somewhere. And I actually think it's just a case of removing the part of you from the equation that holds you back. I got a great piece of advice from a friend a while back on how to kind of do this, how to actually apply this to life. And it turns out it's actually based on a lot of psychological research. The official psychological name for this is the best friend method. It goes a little bit like this. Let's say that you're facing a bit of a tough decision. Maybe you just want to ask for a raise from work, but you don't know how. Maybe you're stuck in a job you hate. Maybe you even just want to try something new, but you're maybe afraid of what other people think. Whatever the case may be. Instead of asking yourself, what should I do in that situation? Do this. Pretend you're giving advice to your best friend who's in that same situation. What would you tell them? We're a lot better at giving advice to other people because we don't have that extra knowledge. We don't have all that information that we have in our own heads. We see things a lot more objectively. But here comes the really powerful part of this technique. When you're actually wording that advice, don't say, I should. Remember, you're giving it to your best friend. Word it in the third person. Say, they should do this. They should do that. Give the advice with that word, they. It seems incredibly simple, but just by rewording it slightly, just by changing it from the first person to the third person, this little trick just actually helps you step outside yourself. Now yeah, we're all afraid to make mistakes. No one wants to look stupid. No one wants to be seen by other people to fail. And even worse, no one wants to be seen by themselves to fail. So we just procrastinate. We put off doing the things that we want to do for ourselves, and we make excuses. And honestly, that's one of the reasons that I'm making these videos, to push myself outside my own comfort zone, to try new things. So if you're unsure about something at the moment, then maybe try and take your own advice a little bit more. I dare you.